Oh, perfect. All righty, here we go. Welcome, welcome. I am so excited to introduce to everybody Dr. Saya Obayan, who is with us from SkinJoy Dermatology. I am Dr. Eboni Calbow. I am the board chair for Girls Empowerment Network, and am doing this interview so that we are putting ourselves out there. This is actually an opportunity for us to get to showcase some of our donors, some of our funders, but also, the wonderful people in the community that do support girls and support the mission that we are on. So I want to just say welcome, Dr. Obayan.
Thank
Before we
you.
get started, you're so welcome. I'm so happy to have you. I wanted to share a little bit about, my background and how I came to girls, just by way of introduction. So I did start out as an intern for girls in 2007. I was one of the very first social work interns in graduate school at the master's level. And Julia very graciously decided to take on not just one, but seven of us in that first year. I will tell you now, my full time job is actually that job. So I'm a clinical assistant professor at UT Austin in the Steve Hicks School of Social Work, teaching applied practice and field seminar. So I now own those interns and absolutely know what she undertook in taking on seven of us. And that was what an anomaly. Goodness. That was a game changer for us and definitely very generous on the part of girls and on behalf of Julia Cuba Lewis as the CEO of this organization. And so I'm forever grateful. That is why I sit in this seat now. That is how I started, and I boomeranged back to Girls Empowerment Network. And so I am now sitting here in my third year on the board as board chair. I have one more year as board chair to go, and I'm happy and grateful to be able to talk about, the folks that are supporting us and talking us up and making sure that our girls have programs and resources and everything else that they need. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Dr. Obion, to just tell us a little bit about yourself in this work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me and for making the space and taking the time for us to sit down together. I have had such a wonderful experience working with the Girls Empowerment Network. Starting back in, I believe it was 2015 or 2016, I started volunteering doing the power chats. So we go to schools, these wonderful elementary schools, and mostly Black and brown girls in these schools, majority, and just talking to them about our careers. And there'd be probably about 10 or 12 other adults there sharing their experiences with these young students. And I just had such a wonderful time. The kids are they're so creative, they're so curious, that I just felt so honored to share space with them and to be able to kind of share, my story and to let them know that, look, you can basically do whatever you want. Whatever you want, you can get out there and you can do it. And these are people here, who are going to embody those things that, what you're working towards. And I know one of the girls shared that she was going through a very difficult time at home. She wasn't really able to get into the specifics of what was going on. But to have that safe space in school where you can say, listen, I'm going through something challenging right now. And to have the ability to say, I don't really want to talk about it, and set that boundary of, I don't really want to talk about it, but I want to let you know something's going on. And to feel held in that space is something that's just very, very, very special. So from the beginning, Girls Empowerment Network just kind of snatched my heart. And I've just been involved with Girls Empowerment Network ever since. And then I worked with, I met Julia actually after I started volunteering with the Girls Empowerment Network. She reached out to me because I think I was nominated for an Austin Under 40 award. And I was talking about my volunteering with the Girls Empowerment Network. And so Julia reached out to me. We had some coffee and some sweets, and we just kind of hit it off. Since then, I consider her a great friend. And ever since then, she and I have just been in communication, and it's just been a joy and a pleasure to have her as part of my community now. Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. Julia
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's the epitome of leadership and a CEO that really cares about the organization and about what that organization is aligned with. And so it is no surprise that she was able to recruit somebody like you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as far as work, I am a practice owner and dermatologist of SkinJoy Dermatology here in Austin, Texas. And we are Austin's premier practice for skin of color. And it has been just wonderful to talk to young girls about entrepreneurship and business ownership and practicing in the medical field. So, they tend to have a lot of questions about all the different hats that I wear. And it's really been wonderful to share with them that you can do all of these things. This is not, beyond your reach. And I'm glad to be able to serve as a role model for these young girls.
Oh, that's perfect. And I absolutely love what you said about, they do need to see it. They do need to know that folks are out there, and you are somebody who is really aligned with talking to them about, I'm showing you what small business is like, how this world works. There should be so much more of it. I am definitely in that camp as well, myself, as somebody with a group practice. And so I'm like, kindred spirits, definitely here.
Yes.
And that leads me to this question. So, our mission at Girls, of course, is to help girls discover that they are powerful people, by teaching them self-efficacy and a girl's belief in her ability to succeed. And so for you, Dr. Obayan, you are a role model, not just in this community, but a role model for self-efficacy through your business, just as you've outlined, and through the way that you lead your life. I mean, the way that you've gotten involved with girls and gone beyond just your business model to also extend that into the community and make sure that that's a big piece of this. And so, can you tell us a little bit about how you believe in your ability to succeed, especially when things in life or business are tough?
Yes. So, thank you for that question. And we all go through extremely challenging things in our life. We go through loss. That's a shared human experience. I think if anything, COVID has taught us that we are all living in a very much a shared human experience. And,
Yes.
things like grief and loss, sometimes even hopelessness, despair, all of those things are part of our human condition. So there are tools that I've picked up over the years that have significantly helped me in these difficult times. Took some time to figure out what those tools were for me. 'Cause sometimes there are different tools that work for you, might not be the ones for me, or they might not be right for me in that time.
Mhm.
So there are different tools for different folks. But I do think that one of the most essential things that I've done is to create my own brand of a self-care practice. So for me, I define a self-care practice as something that rituals that help you to maintain an inner state of calm and help you maintain inner peace. And so for me, what my inner peace looks like, what helps maintain mine is spending time in nature. I love just going for walks, going for hikes. Austin is such an amazing city where we are so fortunate to be surrounded by nature almost practically everywhere we go. So, get into the green belt, go find a body of water, just go to the hike and bike and spend time out there, spend time in nature, walk. Movement therapy is also really important to me. So legit once a week, I must hit the dance floor. It's cathartic for me. It's a release for me. It's a celebration. It lets me know that the week is over and it's time for me to have time to myself. So, finding a dance floor somewhere, playing some Afro beats or some house music or some bachata, salsa, and just getting on the dance floor and working it out with my body has just been such a healing thing for me to do. So self-care practices, very important. During COVID, with all of the difficulty with certain uncertainty and being unsure of how long it's going to last and being worried about family member and team members at work, Another practice that I really leaned into was meditation. So I practice something called Transcendental Meditation. It's when you have a mantra that you repeat over and over again, and it just kind of takes you somewhere else. And so lunchtime for about 20 to 30 minutes, I sit with myself, I practice my meditation. If I don't have enough time, I go inward and I just kind of sit in silence and I just let my thoughts pass and monitor my thoughts. That really helps me to show myself some love. So self-love is another part of this practice. Show myself some love, show myself some space, give myself some time, and just allow these thoughts to kind of do what they do and allow them to pass. And then at the end of it, I thank myself. I thank myself for giving myself that time, that space that we don't always have during the day, just to stop for a minute and to just kind of, be in that peace and be in that inner state, really helped me through a lot of difficult times. So, getting into these self-care practices and figuring out for you what does self-care look like. That's a big, big tip that I have.
I love that, and wholeheartedly endorsed by healthcare professionals. You are leading the way. I mean, going inward is, I mean, it's some of the best advice that I have heard, because it is so hard now that we are living through a pandemic to see what we can get from the outside world. Our normal ways of self-care and accessing that are no longer accessible to us, just as you said. So it is nice to know that, there are practices that we can do individually that really do help us, just center ourselves to get back a little bit of that time. I know I'm somebody who struggles sometimes with mindfulness and meditation. I mean, you are a champion going 20 or 30 minutes because, I'm like, it does. You start out with like 2 or 3 minutes and have to build your way up. Some folks
Yeah.
can, really build it up pretty quickly. But I'm like, I mean, even 5 minutes worth of mindfulness is something that is a game changer for your day, for your personality, for your behavior, for everything. And so you will find another co-signer in me on that. Absolutely. These are the messages that I love to spread to our girls, and to make sure that we are, just staying on top of monitoring ourselves, self-assessing, making sure that, we are being mindful of us and what we need. How do we meet our needs today? What is it that we need today?
Absolutely.
So I love hearing that. And speaking of talking to our girls, and putting ourselves out there. Now, you mentioned Power Chats earlier, and I'm going to bring us back to that. One of my favorite programs and activities. And so I just wanted to ask, you have been a volunteer with girls and with Power Chats. And so that's, of course, our program where we, call on adult role models and make sure, that they meet with people like you, and myself on school campuses, talk about life, talk about their profession, talk about what they're interested in. And I just wanted to find out more about, what that experience was like for you. I mean, I love Power Chat, so it's a fan favorite for me. But I do want to know, what is that experience like for you?
Absolutely. I adore Power Chats. I am more of a small group kind of person. So I know y'all also have these large, I was at one huge event. I think there must have been like hundreds, maybe even 1,000 girls at this
Yes, the We Are Girls conference.
Oh my gosh, y'all took over the whole school. It was like girls empowerment that were just spilling out of the doors. That was an amazing, wonderful,
Absolutely
amazing, wonderful experience. But for me personally, I prefer like more small group settings because I think it's great for being able to connect with each girl. And with the Power Chats, where they kind of have little groups of girls cycling through the classroom, the way that they had it set up was they would have 2 or 3 girls that would sit, and the mentor would be stationary at one of the tables, and then the girls would kind of circulate throughout the room and talk to you and ask their questions, and then they would have icebreakers and things that you would answer as well. But that kind of setting is a bit more goes more with my personality. I'm very much more of a one-on-one or a small group kind of person. And I think for the girls too, some girls are a bit more shy than other girls, and so that format, and for myself, because I was a pretty shy child when I was younger, For girls who have difficulty speaking up, who have difficulty saying what's on their mind, and maybe hold back a little bit more, the small group setting is so essential because they will feel safer about sharing those things. And I can just say, hey, Esmeralda, for example, I see you're being pretty quiet. Do you have something you'd like to ask or something that you'd like to share? And she will be so much more comfortable speaking in that setting. So I think for me, just kind of getting to speak to them about what's really on their mind, what's really impacting them, that sort of the power chat setting feels like just a safer, more contained space to be able to do something like that. So love power chats. We'll probably do more power chats in the future because it's just such a rewarding experience for me. Yeah.
Good. So glad. I mean, these programs, the ideas evolve from folks that are wondering, how do we meet the needs of these girls and how do we create something that works for that? And I tell people all the time, especially for mentors like you, those kinds of programs don't work unless we do have volunteers that are willing to, share their stories and share their experiences. And so we are forever grateful for anybody who is willing to step into that space. And it is good to hear that there's something for everybody everywhere. Like, yes, the We Are Girls conference is huge and boisterous, and there's tons of people, but we also do have things for folks that are more oriented towards the one-on-one and want to spend that intimate time with the girls, which is something that we could not ever exchange at all. I mean, that is just as important as any big event that we would throw. The opportunity, the ability to ask a professional in the field, somebody who looks like you, has the same experiences, who has the same story as you in a lot of places, and be comfortable in that setting. Really going into a deep dive about, this is what I'm thinking. This might seem like a long shot to other people. It might be a pipe dream, but this is what I'm after. And to have somebody validate that and confirm that and say, that was my story too, and look where I ended up. And so again, that's down to folks like you, mentoring and volunteering.
Definitely.
So there was a big thing that you did, and I definitely do not want to skip over this because this is actually, how I was able to say, oh my gosh, I have been following Dr. Obayan for forever, and I did not know that this was yet another thing that connected not just us, but folks in the community to you. And that is, last year you made a wonderful financial gift to Girls Empowerment Network. And really, I wanted to ask, what inspired that gift?
Yes, absolutely. So just the past 3 years just accelerated so many things, I think, for a lot of us. I can speak for myself personally that before COVID happened, I was sort of going through the motions of life. I was going through the motions of running a practice. I was going through the motions of, being a family member, being a friend, showing up for things that were just kind of taking space in my life, but were not necessarily serving me in any way. So COVID sort of put a hard stop on a lot of those things and really helped me assess who I am, what my purpose is, what any kind of legacy I want to leave looks like. And taking that time to do that work of sitting in silence and not having all of these distractions anymore, and finding that inner peace, or at least starting the search for what inner peace looks like for me, was really what led me to making that donation. I spent over 20 years of my life undocumented. So growing up, I lived a very precarious life. I lived a very hidden life. And I lived what felt to me like an unsafe life. So I had to move through spaces as though everything was okay and everything was normal, when inside I knew that practically nothing was normal and practically nothing was okay. Um, Living like that, living in the shadows, living in the darkness, and still having to propel yourself forward, reach for your goals, and be successful and conquer things that stand in your path. Um, they were very empowering for me, but it was also extremely challenging. It was kind of like running a marathon, but with about 100-pound rock on your back, is what it felt like, moving through these spaces and doing these things that I did. And I think that COVID just really put everything into perspective for me. And one of the things that I was sorely lacking when I was a child that I really, really, really wish that I'd had when I was a younger person was community. Community was something that I never had. Being undocumented is such a secretive thing. It's a shame. It feels shameful. The rhetoric,
Isolating.
yeah. It's very isolating. The rhetoric in this country, the way that people talk about children who are in this situation that is not their choice. It is heartbreaking, and it causes internalization of all of these negative thoughts that really, really, really can impact a child's mental health, child's physical health, the child's ability to connect and attach. I mean, there are so many things that I've had to work through living in this country, and living through having that kind of experience in this country with basically no support. So when COVID hit, I said, gosh, if I could just do one thing in my life, what would that thing be? It's one thing. And for me, that thing was creating community for these girls. And so, being involved with Girls Empowerment Network and knowing Julia so well, I reached out to her and I said, I have this idea. I really want to help. We're in Texas. We're in a place where this could really be impactful. And I'm a big believer in giving locally. So I really wanted to give locally first. And I reached out to Julia and I said, I really want to create this scholarship for girls who are undocumented or who have something called DACA. DACA means Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which is when the US government suspends deportation of someone. So you're able to apply for this given certain requirements. I really wanted to start a scholarship for these children and these young people who they can't apply for scholarships anywhere else. You have to be usually a permanent resident or a citizen to apply for scholarships. They're mainly on their own financially. And a lot of times their parents are undocumented. They're not really making the money to be able to give these girls, this peer community that they could really blossom if they had. And so I wanted to kind of fill that need in our community and give these girls an opportunity to be part of a beautiful, diverse, thriving community of powerful women, and not have to worry about that financial roadblock to being a part of this community. Because gosh, if my little 12-year-old self could have had that, it would have just made all the difference in my life. So yeah, that's really what led me to make that donation.
And we can't say thank you enough. I can't say thank you enough for sharing that part of your story and what led you to this, because a significant part of who we serve at Girls are undocumented. They are Black and Brown people who are in various shades of, trauma, life stages, and everything else, and they are our kids. And so to know that this would have been a game changer for you, somebody like myself, or anybody at that time in our lives, and that we have come to this place where we make it a priority to make sure that that is something that our girls do have access to. That is another thing that we could never trade. So I am thankful that you shared that story and that piece of your story with us. I'm also, that is a part of my long-lived social work history. I started out as a social worker in immigration.
Oh, wow.
Yes, absolutely. Specifically for those reasons, that I believe in our country as a community, and that, documentation is just another barrier that we have, put forth for people. And I don't want people to live isolated or in fear for their safety. And I made that my mission when I became a school social worker for our school district in a part of town where that's all I served: newcomers, refugees, families that are trying to stay together and make sure that they get through the citizenship process. And so I know that it's years, it is tough. There are lots of things that get thrown at you. There are lots of barriers and potholes and places where, people are marginalized and relegated to the fringe of the society. And to know that you have come forward and said, if I can do one thing, that this is what I'm changing, but you chose to do that through Girls and Girls Empowerment Network, is tremendous. And so I hope people really hear that message from you, and knowing that, leading from the front sometimes really is putting yourself right out there in the front. And that's exactly what you've done for all of our girls, not just our undocumented ones, but that is one piece of this whole fabric that we're weaving together. So thank you for creating community in a place where perhaps people were not looking. Related to that, I do want to ask you, I mean, just thinking about your journey and what you've shared and how you came to this, and who you're speaking to when you speak to all this, what is one piece of advice that you would love to impart on our girls when it comes to experiencing adversity?
That's a really great question. And that is something that I spent a lot of time thinking about and writing about over the past few years during COVID. I just had the space to delve deeply and think about these tips or tools for survival, for success, how to thrive, through challenging times. And my first tip is something that I've shared already, which is creating safe spaces, creating a safe community. I think that when we are feeling isolated in general, and when we're feeling overwhelmed, it can be difficult to reach out. So I would suggest to anyone who's going through a challenging or difficult time to make a list of about 10 different people that you consider to be safe, whether it's family members, whether it's, part of your spiritual community, whether these are people online that you're just, friends with online, whether you're a student and these are some student peers that you trust. But make a list of just 10 people that you think you consider safe. And if you're dealing with something, reach out to one of the people on your list and say, hey, I'm holding something right now. I'm carrying something that's very challenging, very difficult, whether you're carrying grief or loss, or you're feeling hopelessness, or you're going through depression or anxiety or mental illness, whatever it is you're going through. Reach out to one person on your list and let them know that you're dealing with something, and talk to them about what you're holding. They might be open to talking to you about what they might be holding. Once you've done that, I think that you'll feel so much better that you shared that with one person. You will not feel alone anymore, because it's the isolation and it's the loneliness that leads us down a very, very dark path. So when we feel like we're not alone, that can really just in and of itself be so healing. And then work down your list. Reach out to the second person, reach out to the third person, all the way down to number 10. I promise you, by the time you get to that 10th person, you're gonna feel like you have community like none other. You're not gonna feel isolated like you did when you started out. And now that you've reached out to 10 people, anytime something comes up, listen, you got 10 people you can call. You got 10 people that you can reach out to. That is community. This is creating community. This is creating safe space. It's amazing how easy it is, But what it does take is, it does take a little bit of bravery to reach out to that very first person. But once you've reached out to that first person, I promise you it's easier to reach out to the second and then the third and so on. And you won't feel so alone anymore. So that's important, very, very important. Creating safe spaces, creating community. We talked about self-care. So find out what your self-care practices are. What are some practices that you think could really enrich your life? What are some practices that when you do it, you find that you have more energy after you do it? You just want to conquer the world after you do it. Do you like to create? Are you a painter? Are you a writer? Do you want to write some powerful pieces? Are you a storyteller? Are you an actor or actress? Are you someone who loves to just do a lot of movement and dancing? Is that something that feeds you, that gives you energy? Spending time in nature, meditation, is that what gives you energy? Going inward or just being around others, what gives you energy? So creating this self-care practice can be wonderful. I used to have a practice with a few friends of mine called Self-Care Sunday. So on Self-Care Sundays, we get together and we would just talk about what's been going on. And it'd be about once a month or so we do this, talk about what's going on in our lives and share, good things that are going on, not so great things that were going on, and just laugh about all of it. Laughter is such a great medicine. So that can be a part of a self-care practice as well. But connection, spending time to figure out, what gives you that energy and doing more of those things and making it a practice. Wonderful way to introduce some healing into all of our lives. Giving back. So giving back to the community, volunteering in the community, taking some time to help others in the community, such a great and healing way to not just help heal ourselves, but to help heal our communities at the same time. So, we're creating this community and then we're giving back to it. And it just creates this wonderful cycle of just, positive things and positive connection. And that's always healing. One of the things that I think is really important to talk about too is just our definitions of success and defining success for ourselves. So, a lot of us are brought up, you got to be this, that, or the other. For me, being Nigerian, it was you got to either be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, right? There's no other thing you can do. You'll never be successful doing anything else. You must do one of these things. And I ended up doing one of them. However, as I look back and I look deeply into myself, I see that there are other things that bring me joy. My first passion was writing. I really wanted to be a writer when I was a child. So really looking back into childhood and kind of looking at the things that brought you joy in childhood. I think we all have them. We all have these things where we're like, oh my goodness, this makes me so happy. But then, you're kind of talked out of it, or someone tells you, you're never going to make money being an artist. Why bother doing that? And so we stopped doing that. But defining success for yourself and looking inward and finding that inner wisdom, that inner child that tells you, this is what I love doing, that is going to inform your success. It's going to inform your success, absolutely. So definitely take that time to look inward. Managing your fear. So fear is definitely something that comes up from time to time. For me, it comes up more than I would like, if I were to be completely honest, more than I would like. But living the way that I live for a couple decades definitely informed my sense of safety. And I think that when you feel like you're in danger all the time, your mind starts to create this kind of survivalist type of mindset where you feel like you're constantly having to survive something. You can't even thrive. You don't feel like you're thriving because you're too busy trying to just survive. And so managing fear for me has been a practice that's really changed my life. And I manage fear. I manage my fear through regular deep breathing techniques, through meditation. I've gone through therapy. Therapy helps manage fear like none other. I mean, because when you have these negative thought patterns, you really need someone outside of yourself to say, hey, but are you thinking about like where you are right now? And are you thinking about, so within these four walls, are you currently safe? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. And generally, yes, we are actually safe, but our mind is created, it's been conditioned to create this feeling, this sense of us not being safe. And so it's kind of like talking to yourself and having a good relationship with yourself, countering negative self-speak. So in those moments when the brain says, oh goodness, something bad could happen right now. What if something very, very, very bad happens? And then you talk back to yourself and you say, hey, nothing bad's happening right now. We're still here, we're breathing, we're living. You know, we got our community, we can just pick up the phone and call at any time. We're generally happy, we have everything we need to live. We're okay. And as you continue to have this relationship with yourself, you continue to talk to yourself. It's amazing how those good things just manifest and you're not fearful anymore. You don't feel like you're in survival mode anymore. And now you're at that place where you can just thrive. So managing fear is a very important thing to learn how to do. Because fear is something that's innate to all of us and it is a normal part of being human. I don't think that we can ever fully get rid of our fear, right? It's something that's supposed to keep us alive when it's normal. Right. So people say, oh, you get rid of fear. I don't think it's possible. Fear is something that you have to learn how to manage, like you're driving a car. You got to learn how to, when you're going to press that gas pedal, and you're going to learn when you should press the brake. And managing your fear so you know when to push the gas or when to push the brake in a healthy way, that is part of learning how to live as a human being. That is part of learning how to thrive. Pursuing a portable career or a skill that you can use anywhere. This is something that I think is essential. No matter where you are, no matter what you do, I think it's important that you have a career or some kind of skill that you can use, that you can put to use, no matter where in the world you happen to go. And then I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. No, actually, I forgot one last thing. Actually, how could I forget this?
Right? Go right ahead. I'm like, you're full of nuggets that we need.
So consider starting your own business. That's my last one. Consider starting your own business. I'm telling you, that skill, just that simple skill of learning how to put together a business plan, a financial plan, learning how to budget. These are not just skills for business. These are skills for life. Knowing how to negotiate and all of those things, that's going to make you adaptable. That's going to make you be able to thrive no matter what setting that you're in. So, opening a business, you get tax breaks from that, good financial success. You'll build relationships in the community with that. You'll help the community. There's so many positive things that come out of learning how to build a business. And I think for me specifically too, with my specific situation, the uncertainty of the immigration system, building a business really helped me to not be so fearful because I am the one who's, taking care of my financial needs. So I didn't really have to worry too much about someone else saying, oh, well, this didn't get, approved by the government in this time period. So you can't work for the next month or two, which sometimes happens to people with DACA or people who have a temporary immigration status, is that all of a sudden COVID hits, there's a backlog of these documents being processed within the immigration system. They lose their paperwork. They're not able to get it for 6 months. That means they can't work for 6 months.
Right.
So, building a business is a great way, and working as an independent contractor too, actually, is a great way to get around some of those issues that are happening with processing paperwork within the US government. So build a business for yourself. Just do it as a practical life skill. Building a business is a great skill to have. So now
I love that. No, I'm like, small business owners unite. It is a valuable piece of advice. And it's honestly a skill that we're all very good at. I mean, the stats are out there. Most of these small businesses are run by women or initiated by women. In the pandemic, it was something like more than 75% of all new small businesses were owned and run by women. So I mean, we're right on track. You are right on track in that very valuable piece of advice. I'm glad that you remembered that one, to be able to tell us, because it is, I mean, it is critical to our future, to our present, how we're looking at, what we're able to do in our lives. And really and truly, I mean, in the all the advice that you gave, it sounds very much like your business values are aligned with, just your personal values and how you want to live your life and how you want things to be structured around you, not just for yourself, but for other people, for the community. Um, and so tell us, I mean, tell me more about SkinJoy and how this was initiated and how you really work your philosophy into your business.
Definitely. So with starting SkinJoy, our one of our guiding principles is, surprise, building community. So building, for me, I looked around and I just didn't see a lot of spaces in the Austin community that was inclusive of everyone. I wasn't really seeing a lot of spaces that, no matter what your ethnic background, your sexual orientation, your gender, your anything, I didn't see a lot of spaces where everybody, come as you are, be who you are, and come to this space. And so I decided to create a space like that. And it's so wonderful. Sometimes I go to our waiting room and I just kind of glance into the waiting room just to take a peek and see kind of like who's waiting in the waiting room. And sometimes I'll see, one of our community members who's active in the civil rights movement. And then I'll also see, one of our other community members who's involved in PR. And then I'll see another community member who works at like the Kind Clinic, an LGBTQ clinic, and they're just sitting in the waiting room having wonderful conversations about life and connecting with each other. And to me, that is exactly why I created SkinJoy, is so that we could have a space like this where people, all of our Austin community, can be there together and interact and then just have these healthy, wonderful, fulfilling interactions, and then come and see me for some great skincare too. But that's really, that really just enriches our practice, because there aren't a ton of spaces in Austin where you will get a bunch of different people like that interacting and kind of just having a good time laughing in the waiting room. So that was really nice. Has been really nice to see that vision come into fruition. Safe space is another guiding principle for us. So having a space where folks can come in and say, honestly, my acne has been causing me major depression for multiple years now, and I have low self-esteem now because of it. And being able to actually be honest about that in and of itself, I think, is just really healing for a lot of people, because a lot of times we don't feel like we're allowed to say, oh, this really hurts me. A lot of times we get countered by, oh, your problems are not that bad, or skin issues are, at least you have your health and things like that. And we place such an importance on the way that we look, and our appearance is the first thing people see about us. So a lot of people are hurting deeply inside because their appearance is not matching what they feel like they should be on. Their inside is not matching their outside. And so I get to be the one who comes in and clears up their skin and clears up their rash. And it's amazing, because when they come back into the office, and it doesn't usually even take that long, second visit, third visit, they're back into the office, and it's literally like a different person walked through the door, literally. Like, they have different clothes on, they've got their makeup done, their hair is done, they feel great. And it's almost like I can't even recognize that first person that was so hurt, that was so negatively impacted by that skin condition. I can't even see that person anymore. So that really brings me joy, and that's what helps me get out of bed in the morning and keeps me doing what I'm doing. Is I really, really love that healing that a lot of people get when their skin is clear. Um, Teamwork is another big thing for us. My work family is like the best. My work family is the best. And I'm just so grateful and so honored to have so many wonderful people that I am just bolstered by and supported by. And I could never do anything that I did without the amazing, incredible team that I have. So I'm so thankful and so grateful to them. Um, so yeah, that's my work life. That's my work life. I feel very, very grateful to be a part of the Austin community. I feel very honored to be able to do the work that I do, and gosh, just beyond grateful, beyond thankful for the team members that have really found SkinJoy and really bought into the SkinJoy mission of safe space and community and respect for each other, and that who continue to help us just meet milestone after milestone after milestone. It's July, so SkinJoy just had its 4th birthday, June 18th, 2022. So we're so grateful to our Austin community and to our team members and to all the folks who support us. We're forever grateful. Thank you.
Well, I am just another happy client out in the world. I know that I found you just by Googling. I mean, I'm one of the folks that was very much looking for somebody who specialized in, Black and brown skin, melanated skin in this iteration of things, and wanted to make sure that I was getting, the best possible opinion I could get. And it's true. I mean, our community here in Austin is relatively small, and to be able to walk into somewhere like SkinJoy and find all the information, to know that people were welcoming and friendly and saying like, there's nothing that you can say that's going to be outlandish in this space. What is it that you are, looking for? What's going on? What's the outcome? It's one of the best experiences that I've had just, in the healthcare system, and being, in that space with a provider that was really interested and cared about, how things would turn out for me. So, absolutely, I'm glad that that is something that is a part of our community, that you are leading that charge, and really changing the culture around, this is more holistic care. It is about your mental health, not just your physical health or your physical appearance. And so, it's just another reason why I'm like, you're a gem, you're a treasure. How do people find you? I know I Googled, but how do people find you, and how do they get a consult?
Yes. So, gosh, there's so many different ways to get in touch with us. You can call us. Our phone number is 512-312-7552. You can also visit www.skinjoydermatology.com. Again, that's www.skinjoydermatology.com. And then we're also on Instagram and Facebook. I think we just got on TikTok. And our
You're going to be flooded.
Our handle is at SkinJoy Dermatology on both Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And you can also reach us via email by emailing contact@skinjoyderm.com. I know some of our older patients prefer to email rather than call, but calling the office is really easy to get through us too, because there is a menu option to go directly to our office manager. So if you're ever having difficulty texting us or emailing us, you can always call and ask for our office manager, Melinda, and she'll be more than happy to help you.
Perfect. I'm just making sure that everybody can get a hold of you when they need to. This is something I want everybody to access if they absolutely, have any means to do that. I know that y'all work with folks plenty, and so it would be nice to have lots of people from the community come visit you and see what SkinJoy is all about. It's definitely worth the visit for sure.
Absolutely. And
go ahead.
We feel very, very fortunate, and we feel very grateful to be able to offer just so many different types of treatments. So people come in, a lot of people are leading more holistically these days. And so for me, holistic means taking care of the whole person, right? So how do some of the other things in our lives manifest on our skin? So things like stress, chronic stress, that causes increased levels of cortisol, that manifests on our skin through us having more hormonal acne. For a lot of people who have melanin in our skin, that manifests as discolorations, and we call it scarring sometimes. All of those things that are part of our lives can contribute to our skin. So diet is another one. So certain diets can contribute to acne breakouts, even skin rashes. Certain types of just daily habits like sleep, lack of sleep, can manifest on our skin as well. So we just kind of have a general, when you come in, we have a conversation about what are some of these things that could be impacting your life, and do we need to talk about how to address stress? Do we need to talk about an anti-inflammatory change in your diet so that you're taking in more things that reduce inflammation in your body? Because sometimes we can't really help the amounts of stress that we're going to be going through. And so it's nice to know that there are supplements, there are things that we could do in the meantime to help not just our skin, but our entire whole body.
Agreed. Completely. We had holistic care and, more of a holistic mindset from the beginning. I think that it would help quite a few things down the road. But, whenever somebody's able to engage in some resources and support and get the help that they need, the assistance that they need, I'm like, do it. It's absolutely worth it. There are people like Dr. Obayan out here ready and willing, welcoming to help us with some of the stuff that we need. And so I'm glad that you are another holistic practitioner that is championing that cause for all of us. This is how we take care of our community.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to end us on one very important question, just so that you can close us out, because you have given us a ton of wisdom today, a lot of things to think about, and just, some great places for us to be more self-aware and caring towards ourselves. So I wanted to ask, as just the final question, what's one piece of advice that you want to give to our girls?
One piece of advice, just one. Let's see here. So I think what I want to leave all the young girls watching with is just really a message about self-love, because I think that's really the most important thing. I just really want all the girls out there I want you to just treat yourself like just the most precious thing that you have ever come across in your whole life. Because treating yourself that way and loving yourself is going to lead to so much enrichment of life. It's going to lead to so much healthiness for you. It's going to lead to so much self-confidence. It's going to build your self-esteem. It's going to help you speak. It's going to help you advocate, and for yourself, but also for our communities. That this is happening, right? I'm so sorry that you're going through this right now. You are precious and you are wonderful, and you are going to be able to overcome this. This is what we say to other people, right? But then what do we say to ourselves when things don't go the way we want them to, or when something happens in our lives that we don't have control over? There's a lot of, you are failing, you are not doing this correctly, you're messing up. we talk to ourselves in such a harsh way, and we would never talk to anybody else like that. So that we have to turn that around in order to get that enriched healthiness, that mental health, that positivity, that positive outlook that a lot of people talk about. It starts within. It doesn't start from outside of us. It starts right inside of us. So I want you every single day when you get up, I want you to look yourself in the mirror. I want you to say, I am beautiful. I want you to say, I am strong. I want you to say, I am healing. I want you to say, I love me. Every time you get up, I want you to say those things. And I want you to do it every single day. Every single day. And even before bedtime, too, look yourself in the mirror and say, I love me. I am beautiful. I am strong. I am healing. And you give yourself that space. You give yourself that space. Sit in whatever comes up. If you cry, that's okay. Sit in that. Be gentle with yourself. Let all those emotions pass. Let them keep relaxing into them. Relax into anything that comes up, because as you're able to process these things over and over and over again, you will feel healthier. You will feel empowered. You'll feel strong. You'll walk out that door and you'll be ready to conquer whatever you need to conquer that day. And then come home, and before bedtime, give yourself that love. Give yourself that love throughout the day, whenever you need to, whenever you want to. Show yourself that kindness and show yourself that love. That's I think, a really, really important message for our girls. I wish that we would have had this message when we were growing up too, but gosh, you guys are gonna conquer the world. And it's really important that you have all these amazing tools to help you do so. And we are right here with you for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I can't say enough. I'm so glad that you are part of this community, that you choose to spend your time with girls and, championing the mission, the causes that we are aligned with, because it is so important. If we had this when we were girls, I can't imagine, and still look at where we have managed to find ourselves in this life anyway. And so I'm so glad the girls are getting it earlier and more often, and absolutely get up every morning and say, I am strong, I am beautiful, I am healing. Those are wonderful words. What wonderful advice for our girls, and so important. That's part of mindfulness too. That is part of self-care practice and self-love. I'm sitting here thinking, are you sure you don't want to, go moonlight with us in mental health? Because now we know skin health is physical health, is mental health, is whole health.
Yes, it is.
And you are one more person giving us all that. So I can't say thank you enough, not just for what you are doing professionally, but what you're doing personally and for our community, and how much of yourself you are gifting us in everything that you do. You are so focused, but also so dedicated. And that's something that our community sorely, sorely needs all the time. What our girls need. And I hope that this is just another example. You are one more kind, caring adult in this world. And like the way that it says, research shows all you need is one. And you are one more. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for doing this interview. Thank you for every bit of a nugget that you gave us today, because there were plenty of them. They were plentiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Julia, for facilitating all of this. It's just been so wonderful to sit here and connect with you. And it's funny, we talked about self-care, and I feel like I have more energy now than when we started. So obviously we just had a self-care Sunday. Look at that.
Yes. I thought the same thing. I just thought this is a message that we all needed on our Sunday and every day. So I am thankful. You gave me just as much energy back today, especially to start this week. We're about to kick off a new school year, and every bit is needed. We're all needed in this.
Absolutely. Most wonderful. Thank you.
Well, here, let me press stop on our recording. I sure